Good morning, everybody. We hope that you are well on this Thursday morning, St. Patrick's Day. Nikki and Lauren and myself are here today for this VClass. We do not have a guest today. Nikki, take it away.
Good morning, everybody. I'd just like to welcome everybody and the people in this building to Psycho's Traditional Territory and to our final chapters 15 to 21, Times Are Changing.
So our first slide today is just to give you some idea of what the region, the area from the book looks like. So at the top, you'll see that this is what the school looks like. It was a big red building, so I know I've seen buildings like that in bigger centers like Calgary, Vancouver, bigger red brick buildings. Up here, we don't typically see that nowadays. And the bottom pictures there are what the grounds looks like. So you can see the layout. So right here. So this here shows the layout of the school itself, and how close it was here to the railroad and to Fraser Lake.
Farmland.
So there's farmland all around here, and a graveyard.
An ice rink.
And a barn. So it was basically like a mini version of a small working town, really. With graveyards and schools and hockey halls and farmland and things for the students to look at. And if you look over here, this is in, looks like a picture maybe from August-ish, with the leaves turning red there with a view of Fraser Lake in the background. What it looks like today. And Nikki, did you want to talk about these slides?
So this is a measles epidemic in 1963, and these pictures are from LeJac. So can you tell me, anyone, when you look at these pictures, what do you see? Do you think this is what a hospital would look like? Anyone?
So you should be able to type now if you guys have.
There you go.
Things that you noticed in these pictures, something that might be different or the same.
No, these pictures aren't in the book.
No.
These are extra pictures.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of pictures in the book.
Yeah. So yes, it looks crowded for one thing, right? Everybody, look at how close those beds are. It's almost like you're in some kind of a camp dormitory. And there's the hockey sticks. So I see that Victoria noticed that up here to hold the IVs as an IV pole are hockey sticks. So again, you're probably using what they could find around to sustain so many children. Is there anything else that you noticed? Maybe what the children are wearing.
Doesn't look like it would be very conducive to actually healing people being that close to each other.
Right, with measles, because measles is highly contagious, so having everybody probably, it looks like there may be 2 feet between each bed there, 3 feet maybe. It looks like it wouldn't be very easy to get rid of the disease, right?
Also, I think that any other diseases that were going around too, like TB would be
very easy
at this point too. So.
Yeah, and the beds are all the same, and something I noticed was that their pajamas are all the same. The long sleeves, the stripes, button up, right? So nowadays I know that you walk into any store and there's tons of different pajamas to pick from and different styles, right? So I thought that was that kind of stood out to me as well when I saw this picture.
One thing to note at this time, there was a proper hospital down the road, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a ways, but I mean, it should have been in that proper hospital being taken care of properly. So that's just something to keep in mind.
And no real blinds on the windows.
They're being kept from proper medical care.
Yeah. It was cheaper, right?
Yeah, it was easier. And they're all boys that we can tell right there. And there was probably a dormitory for girls and a dormitory for boys would be my assumption. Because I remember at that stage, whenever you went to residential school, the boys and the girls and the family members were all separated. So they were most likely in another hall, right? Very good observations. Yeah, and the IVs were, back then it looks like they were glass bottles as opposed to the bags that we see nowadays. So some carrier words in the Nakazi dialect, so from examples For some of them, you can go to firstvoices.com, and it offers some language lessons for First Nations languages all across Canada. Every dialect is different, right?
And you can see the word and the meaning and listen to the recording of an elder saying that word and telling you what it means. On the First Voices website is amazing.
And the reason we're talking about this is in the last few chapters, there's a big emphasis on Mary's work preserving the language. When she worked at St. Joe's, she was asked to come there and teach some carrier to try to preserve the language, and I think that is one of the reasons why she was awarded the
Order of
Canada. Just with her work with preserving the language, because that's such an important cultural piece to the
region, right? Like,
to the region,
yeah. I know my daughter here, she's in kindergarten here at this school where EBUF is, and every second Friday they have carrier class, and that's where they learn things like the colors and animals, and they sing songs, and they also see some of the animals that have been trapped and some of the hives that have been made. So there is still that little bit of a push in the elementary ages here in Vanderhoof, but not really up through the higher grades. But the kids do at least get some kind of an exposure to it, which is pretty neat, because I even noticed on our signs out here for our school play that's going on right now, there's the washrooms, and it says boys, boys, garçons, dîner. So boys in 3 different languages, because it's in French immersion school, so it's English, French, and in carrier. So I thought that was really neat that the school would try to make people feel welcome, right? That's just a small thing that can welcome them. For B and I, they are the same, fish. So B, bit, and I, bit.
They look like...
So maybe that sound that they're looking at? Okay. Right, so...
Oh yeah, I see it.
It just means the same thing?
Bits and bits.
I guess.
Yeah.
Looks like a pike.
So check out that firstvoices.com, and you can pick any region in Canada, and it's an amazing website.
Can we show them that right now?
We could look it up here. Yeah.
Can we share that screen and just maybe try a couple of things?
Okay, so I'm going to screen share. So
we tried to get a language teacher to come in to teach you guys a few words, but that didn't happen. So you have us.
We have First Voices.
So we're going to try out this website and just give you guys a little bit of a preview of what it looks like and talk about a couple of favorite this website if you can. It's kind of a neat thing to have.
So from here you can pick from the first page here, hopefully you can all see this now. It says language legacies celebrating indigenous cultures, and you can pick whether English or French is your language.
Can you guys see it? Okay, good.
So we can go to Northern Canada. Oh no, Western, sorry.
Yep, so you can pick the region of Canada. So we pick Western to have it be in British Columbia here. And we can click for a closer map of the area. So here, oh, where'd it go? Oops, I didn't really want that one. Sorry. So here I can pick
Yeah, Cal.
right here, Southern Carrier.
Jan etneske kohn etnechai ko nika ayat astakodol eka janal en nafak etodin la holos nakenge sucho hodosa es.
And on the left-hand side, you can see that some of the words are translated for you. But it was just reading the introduction.
Oh, reading the introduction. Okay. Right, to learn our language, play a game, a community slideshow, and some art galleries. So it tells you about the carrier people, who they were and are.
You can probably click on the left on the words.
And, oh, and you can find an app. There's a carrier app. There you go.
If you click on that, can you click on it?
No.
Dahuja.
So that
So
was
Dahuja.
Dahuja.
What is happening?
What's up?
big reading, yeah.
Some mittens.
Chachebat.
Chachebat.
And mittens are very important in the north here.
Yes.
That would be something that everybody would have.
Besiko. Atsu.
Atsu.
Grandmother.
Asian.
So it gives you a breakdown of the sounds too, is what I noticed. So syllable by syllable. So pretty neat website, and you can pick some games to play. Right, like word searches, jigsaw puzzles, concentration, so it's another word for like a memory game. So it's like a typical, like I don't know if any of you do the language learning through our school or through an online source, but any language learning often has these games that you can play as well.
Jalan en nafak etotin la. Holos naking sucho hodosa es.
So that was, I'll just turn this off now and we can go back to our path. So that is a very worthwhile site to go and look at if you're interested in the languages, or even if you wanted to include something like this in your, for the grade 8s anyways, in your assignments for your final project for this book. So in this video that we're going to show you, hopefully this one works this time, Mary's going to talk about what teachers, and really it's what students can do as well, I think, can do to make education or school, just being at school, better for First Nations children.
Can I ask about, Mary, what can one teacher do to help a First Nations child in his or her classroom? What for you think what would be most important that a teacher be or do? Especially if you want to have a faith in learning. Let me start talking learning, or there's a that's a really good question. One thing from my experience, in working the right words, they have to accept you and understand you and be kind. And that's what I found in my life. Because nowadays, if there is a child who is a problem, that comes to it, be kind as they could, gentle as they could, convenient as they could, then you can become very good.
I think Brandon's idea of having the heritage day is great, actually isolating on the instead of everybody else can do that. They actually think, show off their heritage.
It's so important for students to know that, because even in elementary school, I was thinking about software tools where they have one meeting and that meeting constantly meeting for meetings, and not even spend as much time, so we as teachers have to be able to use a little bit of time for things, because we can't just leave it up to the day-to-day to deal with things. We have to put the onus on ourselves.
Okay, so I know the video is it's fuzzy, and it is taken from an older video, so it is difficult to hear. But what she said was to try to be kind and caring, and to remember where these children are coming from, and to just be kind, right? And the supports in the school aren't always there. The adults aren't always there. They might be stretched thin between schools. So to have students to be more understanding of one another and understand where their fellow students are coming from is also important. But mostly just to be kind and welcoming was a word that she used as well. I know the video wasn't very good quality. It's just the way that it was recorded. So I will put the recording on my V-Class page as well. Okay. And so in these images here, we have Lazar and Mary enjoying a nice day at home outside here in Cycus, relaxing on the bench there. And the book is, this is the dedication here. This book is dedicated to my dearest daughter, Helen Jones, who inspired me to tell my story. Helen died in May 19th, 1987, while the writing of this book was in progress. And so this was a picture that's hanging on the wall out at the Potlatch House at Cycus. We thought it would be nice to include that here. You often see authors dedicating books or telling you what inspired their writing. And so just a couple of discussion questions for you guys.
All right, so a couple of discussion questions, and this will be focused for you students, as we don't have a guest speaker today, so I do want you to participate as much as you can here. All right, so the first question, do you think it's important that carrier people preserve their language? How important is your own language to your identity? And what if one day the language you now speak disappeared? So I just want you to kind of take a few seconds here to think about what your language means to you and how important it is. Like what if, in 10 years or 20 years, the language you speak at home no longer is a language spoken, and you couldn't use it anywhere. Any thoughts or comments on that?
No, that's understandable. The internet sometimes is sketchy, and when you're doing a class like this, it does make it difficult. So it's important to use your own language and learn others too. So why do you say that, Ariel? Why do you think it's important to keep using your own language? Okay, so Natalie said that her language is very important to her. It's how you communicate. So how would you feel, or what would you do, Natalie, if 2 weeks from now someone said, okay, you know what, we're actually going to go and move to Tuktoyaktuk? How would you feel if you got there and no one there spoke English? And while you're writing your answer there, what about Sarah and Ashley? Do you guys have any thoughts, being the more senior students here, having done a lot of English courses, a lot of writing? How is your language important to you? So Ariel says that it's important so that you don't forget your own language and that you also learn how to communicate with others that don't speak your language.
Good.
Very good.
So that's a good thought. So keep thinking about that. I know it's a big question, and I mean it's a really in-depth question. There's 3 parts to it there, so that's fine. So let's move on to the next question. Now this one you got to try to think outside of your own life for a moment. If you had to travel 9 miles to work every day, how would you solve that problem today in your own community? So everybody lives in different communities and you have access to different things. We know that Mary had to travel 9 miles by foot in the winter to her work at the hospital. It takes me 35 minutes from 55 kilometers away to get there. I work in the same place. My classroom is there. So she had to travel only 9 miles, which is what? That's like 18 kilometers?
Like 15, yeah.
Yeah, 15 kilometers. It took her 3 hours. So big difference. How would you do that in your community? What kind of things? What kind of things are available to you in your community today? Bus. Yeah.
Okay, so public transportation or a taxi. And so I know in Vanderhook, even today, it's difficult for people who don't have a vehicle to get from town to town, right? So oftentimes you'll see on like a Facebook page people saying, is anybody going to Prince George today? I'll pay for gas, or right, trying to get rides.
We don't have buses, or we don't motorbike. Good.
Motorbikes?
We don't have buses, and we don't have taxis in Vanderhook.
Right.
In Cycus.
Yeah, and the Greyhound runs once or twice a week or something, right? It's not very often. So really, these issues still are largely at play today, even,
And then if you think she was walking to work because they needed the money, so do you have money for a taxi every day?
Or the bus, even a monthly pass, or gas for your motorbikes?
Yeah.
Nope. No.
All right, yeah, so just chew on that for a minute. Just try to think of that and what kind of hardship that is. All right, so now this is going to require you to grab your books. That's the farthest I've ever run.
Farther than you've ever run. Nice.
Yeah. So pick up your books, and I want you to flip through at the end of chapter 15, and I want you guys to pick a picture and share your initial thoughts or reactions with the group. So just pick any picture you want, sort of identify it in the chat bar, and give us your initial reactions or thoughts or questions about the picture. This one's a mandatory one. I want everybody to participate. Pick one picture and just give us even a one-word reaction, one idea or thought about one of the pictures. So just identify the picture. Say it's on page 10. It's the picture of the woman or whatever. Just to get some discussion going here about the images, because there's such great images in here, such great history.
Okay, that's okay, Ariel. Understandable.
Do you want to model?
Anyone else? So, for example, if I were to say, I really like the picture on page 126 of Lazar setting in front of the potlatch house because that's somewhere that I have been and I can identify as having been there.
So everybody flip to that page. Take a look. If you have the book. That's in 1991, well before any of you were born.
127 at the bottom there, and why did you pick that one, Natalie?
That's a nice picture. What were your reactions to that picture? What were your initial thoughts when you saw it?
The generations,
That's
yeah.
a really great comment, actually. Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of what I was thinking, too, when I was looking at it, my first reaction.
And how about Sarah or Ashley or Victoria? We haven't heard from you guys yet.
Hi.
Hi, Victoria. So did you hear our question? Question number 3, they're choosing a picture at the end of chapter 15 and share your thoughts about it with the group.
Yeah, you can definitely see similarities between Mary and her granddaughter there. Absolutely.
Ashley or Sarah? Or even Victoria, if you grab your book there. Okay, so it looks like they made the boots, the moccasins, the boots. Okay,
Oh,
so
cool.
they were making those
I
together.
didn't even notice that. What are those called?
Mucklucks?
Those are beautiful. That would be some beadwork there on the leg.
Probably fur and
What kind of fur does that look like?
I'll bet it's rabbit.
Probably rabbit. That's pretty
Yeah.
common, eh?
Yeah.
I'll tell you a funny story. I actually, when I first moved to northern BC, I had a friend's wife make me some traditional moccasins. And, I had it lined with beaver fur, and I had some beaded rifles on the toes, and they called me a redneck. And I also learned that I'm deathly allergic to beaver fur.
Oh.
So it took me about a month to realize that the reason I had this awful chest infection was because the beaver fur on my new moccasins that I got. So they changed it out for coyote fur. Not as nice. Beaver fur is quite luxurious and beautiful.
But no reaction.
But I could breathe, so it was nice.
Okay, so you guys don't want to participate, Victoria, Ashley, or Sarah. Any pictures there?
All right, we can move on. That's fun. Not the end of the world. Have you ever experienced or witnessed an injustice? Now, this is a tough question, and if you're comfortable sharing something, that's fine. You don't have to share anything. You can also just talk about the experience from, or the the situation from the book if you'd prefer. But have you ever experienced or witnessed an injustice as was suffered by the Saigus people when Richard Redikoff was acquitted of the charges related to Corey Thomas's death? So just to refresh your memory, you don't have the book in front of you. At the end of the book, there was a big ordeal with the coroner's inquest where there was a pregnant woman who had been walking home and was struck by a car. And through investigation, they found out that the person was drinking and speeding, and in the end, he was actually acquitted of any charges. Now, that caused quite the,
an outrage.
Yeah, quite an outrage at the people, and nothing was ever done about it. So I want to know if you guys witnessed anything like that, or experienced anything like that, or read about anything like that in another place, or any reactions to that. Yes, often people from other parts of the world think that Canada is a snowy wasteland and we live in igloos. That's pretty common. Obviously not true. Most Canadians live on the border of the United States and Canada, so most of our population is. But even up here, we do not live in igloos. We have homes with houses and windows just like you, and roofs and whatnot. It's actually quite wonderful living up here. In fact, I will never move back to the mainland. I used to live in Chilliwack.
We live in caves. There you go.
Okay, so next week, as I mentioned before, we will be broadcasting live, or we're going to attempt to broadcast live there from Sycas at the Potlatch House. And so the next B class will be Wednesday, so next Wednesday. Yeah. Next Wednesday at 11 o'clock is when our B class will be. There will be, all of our guests will be there, as well as some of Nikki and Lauren and myself, administrators from our school here at EBOS. And so we really hope that you guys are able to join us Wednesday at 11. We will send out a reminder to everybody, and hopefully you guys can all make it.
And so if you guys look back at page 126, where Lazare is standing in front of the Potlatch House, this is the same place. This is the same building. So this is just a different picture, different angle of it. So just a little bit of a connection to the book, to an actual physical location that we'll be at. So that's kind of neat.
Mm-hmm. Are there any final questions or comments about the book?
We have a couple questions coming in.
Yeah, at 11 a.m. So there will be a reminder sent out to everybody as well.
I've already sent that out to Ashley and Sarah Gardy.
Okay.